The next poem I'm going to break up into at least two parts. It is The Old Age of Queen Mauve by William Butler Yeats. Mauve, the great queen, was pacing to and fro between the walls covered with beaten bronze in her high house at Cruachan. The long hearth, flickering with ash and hazel, but half showed where the tired horseboys lay upon the rushes, or on the benches underneath the walls, in comfortable sleep. All living slept but that great queen, who more than half the night had paced from door to fire and fire to door. Though now in her old age, in her young age she had been beautiful in that old way that's all but gone. For the proud heart is gone, and the fool heart of the counting house fears all but soft beauty and indolent desire. She could have called over the rim of the world whatever woman's lover had hit her fancy, and yet had been great-bodied and great-limbed, fashioned to be the mother of strong children. And she'd have lucky eyes and a high heart, and wisdom that caught fire like the dried flax at need, and made her beautiful and fierce, sudden and laughing. O unquiet heart, why do you praise another, praising her, as if there were no tale but your own tale worth knitting to a measure of sweet sound? Have I not bid you to tell of that great queen, who had been buried some 2,000 years? When night was at its deepest, a wild goose cried from the porter's lodge, and with long clamour shook the ale-horns and shields upon their hooks. But the horse-boys slept on, as though some power had filled the house with druid heaviness, and wondering who of the many changing seed she had come as in the old times to counsel her. Maeve walked, yet with slow footfall being old, to that small chamber by the outer gate. The porter slept, although he sat upright, with still and stony limbs and open eyes. Mauve waited, and when that ear-piercing noise broke from his parted lips and broke again, she laid a hand on either of his shoulders, and shook him wide awake, and bid him say who of the wandering many-changing ones had troubled his sleep. But all he had to say was that, the air being heavy and the dogs more still than they had been for a good month, he had fallen asleep, and, though he had dreamt nothing, he could remember when he had had fine dreams. It was before the time of the great war over the white-horned bull and the brown bull. She turned away, he turned again to sleep, that no god troubled now, and wondering what matters were afoot among the Sidhe. Mauve walked through that great hall, and with a sigh lifted the curtain of her sleeping room, remembering that she too had seemed divine to many thousand eyes, and to her own one that the generation had long waited, that work too difficult for mortal hands might be accomplished. Bunching the curtains up, she saw her husband, Ailill, sleeping there, and thought of days when he had a straight body, of that famous Fergus, Nessa's husband, who had been the lover of her middle life. Suddenly Ailill spoke out of his sleep, and not with his own voice, or a man's voice, but with the burning, live, unshaken voice of those that can never age. He said, "High Queen of Cruachan and Magi, a king of the great plain would speak with you." And with glad voice Mauve answered him, "What king of the far wandering shadows has come to me, as in the old days when they would come and go about my threshold to counsel and to help?" The parted lips replied, "I seek your help, for I am Engus, and I am crossed in love. How may a mortal whose life gutters out help them that wander with clasping hand by rivers where nor rain nor hail has dimmed their haughty images that cannot fade, although their beauties like a hollow dream? I come from the undimmed rivers to bid you call the children of the mains out of sleep, and set them digging into Anubal's hill, wee shadows, while they uproot his earthy house, will overthrow his shadows and carry off Care, his blue-eyed daughter that I love. I helped your fathers when they built these walls, and I would have your help in my great need, Queen of High Curaigchon. I obey your will with speedy feet and a most thankful heart, for you have been, O Angus of the birds, our giver of good counsel and good luck. And with a groan, as if the mortal breath could but awaken sadly upon lips that happier breath had moved, her husband turned, faced downwards, tossing in a troubled sleep, but Mauve, and not with a slow feeble foot, came to the threshold of the painted house where her grandchildren slept, and cried aloud until the pillared dark began to stir with shouting and the clang of unhooked arms.